Hello everybody. It opened finally. The World Cup 2026, expanded format, 48 teams, 3 countries, United States, Canada and Mexico. It's a historical event in history and I welcome everybody who loves football, who follows the World Cup, I follow the World Cup since 1966. And I look for emotions. There is football, and football gives you emotions, but not only football, everything that is happening around. Mexico, South Africa, the opening game on a legendary stadium, Azteca in Mexico City. This is the stadium where Pelé and Maradona raised this World Cup to the sky. And here it is the opening game. But remember, in 2010 we had the same opening game in Johannesburg, only it was South Africa, Mexico. And that game, you remember, on a 55th minute, there was an iconic goal, FIFA Shabalala. He scored a goal which is an historic goal. It's a rare beauty, And the British commentator, Peter Drury, he celebrated that moment with an historic comment, because he just screamed, he shouted, Shabalala, Shabalala, goal, Bafana, Bafana, goals for South Africa, goal for all Africa, goal, jubilee, elele, rejoice. It was for South Africa, it was for all Africa, because it was the first ever in history World Cup in Africa. Was it as emotional today? Well, football itself was not that emotional. We didn't have that kind of an iconic goal. But still, you always have to remember who scored the first goal in a World Cup. And that is Julián, who plays his football in Saudi Arabia. This was an exceptional season for him. He became the golden scorer, he became the most valuable player, and he scored the opening goal. Actually, the game was emotional for the first 9 minutes. It was absolutely clear that Mexico, supported by an incredibly emotional crowd, like 80,000 plus, and they were just driving their team ahead, and on the 9th minute, Mexico scored. South Africa came out to defend, because the group, it's very equilibrated. You have Mexico, you have South Africa, you have South Korea, and the Czech Republic or Czechia, and nobody is really outstanding, except for, of course, for Mexico, because they're playing at home, and they're always going to be supported by their fans and by the entire Mexican population, people. Mexico is a big country and it's a very emotional country. And because in this championship you have 48 teams divided into 12 groups, and out of those 12 groups, 2 teams go into the knockout stage, and the best 8 of 12 groups, the best third. So that means that you don't have to take a lot of goals into your own net. You don't have to. You have to try. If you lose, you have to limit your losses, because at the end, this is one of the factors which will decide who is the third best. But it's very unjust. It's very unjust because the groups are unequal, and I think that FIFA or anyone else, they never found the right criteria to determine the best third teams coming out of a 4-team group. And I think that that's a mistake, and you'll see, we'll come to a point where it will vanish. The best third place will vanish, or the criteria of determining will vanish. We called our program added time 3 minutes minimum, meaning that minimum our program is going to last 3 minutes. not because of the new rules of a hydration break, which lasts exactly 3 minutes in the first half and in the second half, but because we don't want to go over the 3-minute limit, or if we exceed, so at least not by much, but it's minimum 3 minutes, and we'll do it after every of 104 games. So now, as far as football is concerned, football was really not great. The first goal, yes, emotion, and at that point it was almost over. The game was almost over because Mexicans who came out to attack all of a sudden went back. South Africans were absolutely not ready to attack because they came on a field to play a defensive game, and it was a very naive mistake by the South Africans on the 9th minute, because the goalkeeper, he tried to start low, and he just, a short pass to the central defender was facing him and not the entire field. He didn't see what was happening. The central midfielder of Mexico just intercepted the ball. He didn't feel them, he didn't see him. And he passed to Julián and he scored. And that's it. And it was psychologically, South Africa was not able to change. They came out to the second half. In the first couple of minutes, we saw that there is some livening up in their game, that they're really going to try and tie it. But what happened? Happened that at the very beginning, on the 49th minute, so the first 4 minutes of the second half, it was something that South Africa was trying to do. They got a red card. And the red card, it was justifiable, but I mean, it's not 100%. But still, they got a red card, and losing 1-0, no, very difficult to come back. Mexico scored a second goal, which was absolutely expected, also by a naive mistake in defense. I mean, they didn't cover the forward Raúl Jiménez, who was, I mean, they know him. He plays for Fulham. He's a quite well-known player, and he has to be taken ad personam, as we say, especially when he's close to the net. And he just was on a far post, and I mean, he scored basically into an empty net. And here, South Africa didn't have to get more goals. They had to defend the 0-2, and that's what they tried to do. But all of a sudden, on somewhere around the 70th minute, they got a second red card. And that was absolutely, I mean, the referee went to consult VAR. He looked at it for a long time, and he decided it's a direct red card. To me, it was not even yellow. It was yellowish, not even yellow. But anyway, he did it. We are talking about an experienced, quite well-known referee who is Milton Sampaio. He's a Brazilian referee, and imagine, in 700 games, he gave 103 red cards. That means 1 every 7 games. Today, he managed to give 3, because on 90 plus 1 minute, he just extracted a red card for a Mexican player. 3 cards in an opening game never happened. Never happened in the history of a World Cup. Here is an emotion. So basically, we got emotions not from the game itself, but we got emotions from certain decisions. The decision of a goalkeeper, the decision of a referee, the decision of a defender. It was a game that was lost by South Africa because of poor decision making on the field. And it's not that Mexico made great decisions. The crowd was carrying them. They had to win. They won. Everybody expected them to win. If you want something really, another thing which is emotionally important to say is that the youngest player in this tournament, Gilberto Mora, who is 17 years old, he, on the 65th minute, he entered into the game. And that's sort of, it's an emotional moment for him, of course, but for us as well. Everybody who loves football remembers Pelé when he was 17. He was even younger than Gilberto Mora. Gilberto Mora is not Pelé. He's a very promising player. He's probably the most promising player today in Mexico. But still, it's a joyous moment when a young guy like this makes his debut in a World Cup, and that means that we'll have more stars in the future and the game will remain as exciting as it always has been. So, as I said, this group is now becoming a little bit a mystery because Mexico will probably go through in the first place, and that's already clear. South Africa has to come back, and it has to come back with South Korea and Czechia, which is possible. Probable that's another story, and that we'll learn in a game which starts in a few hours, and South Korea against Czechia, and we'll see what they look, and they see what they can. We'll see what they can, and we'll obviously tell you the story. Thank you. I hope we'll continue together.